He wasn't the kind of boy who talked a lot or laughed loudly. But his eyes always followed one person, Lily. She was kind, full of energy, and her laughter made everyone around her smile. Ethan liked watching her from afar. Never too close, never too far. He knew everything about her, what book she liked, how she tied her hair when she was nervous, and how she chewed her pen when she was thinking hard. But he never said a word to her, not even a simple hello. He was afraid not of her but of the pain that might come if she rejected him, so he chose to stay silent. Instead, he helped her quietly. When her books fell, he was the first to pick them up. When she was sad, he left small notes in her locker, never signed. Lily smiled sometimes, looking around to see who sent the note, but Ethan never made it obvious. Their school life passed like this. She had many friends. He had only a few. She joined school events, dance clubs, and even sang on stage. Ethan stayed in the back, clapping for her, always clapping, but never stepping forward. Then one day, without warning, she left. Her father got transferred, and she had to move cities. There was no goodbye, no final talk. Ethan came to class and found her seat empty. That day, something inside him broke. He sat in the same seat by the window, but the sunshine felt colder now. He tried to write her a message many times, but every time he started, he stopped. What could he even say? I loved you from the first day. No, it sounded too dramatic. He kept the words in his heart. Sealed and silent, years passed. Ethan finished school and started working at a small bookstore. His world was quiet, peaceful, but empty. Yet he still remembered her, her laughter, her kindness, and the way she never saw the boy who always watched over her from the shadows. Sometimes he would wonder, what if he had just spoken once? Would things have been different? But life doesn't give second chances easily. At least, that's what he believed, until one rainy evening. The door to the bookstore opened, and a familiar voice asked, "Do you have a copy of The Stars We Lost?" Ethan turned, and there she was, standing in front of him, older, but still the same girl from school. His heart stopped for a second, but his lips moved quietly. "Yes?" "I think we do." Lily stood at the door of the bookstore, rain dripping from her coat. Her hair was a little longer now, her eyes more mature, but her smile was still the same. Ethan's heart beat faster, but he tried to stay calm. She looked at him closely, tilting her head. "You look familiar," she said softly. He gave a shy smile. "We went to school together." Her eyes widened in surprise. "Wait, Ethan." He nodded, unsure what to say next. Lily let out a gentle laugh. "You were always the quiet one, right?" He nodded again, his voice barely above a whisper. "Still am." She stepped inside, shaking off the cold. The shop smelled like old books and warm tea. Lily looked around, touching the shelves with care. "This place feels peaceful," she said. "Do you work here?" "I own it now," Ethan replied, a little proud, a little shy. For a while, they stood in silence. Then she picked up a book and said, "You always sat by the window, didn't you?" He looked surprised. "You noticed?" "Of course." She smiled. "You were always there when I dropped my books." Ethan laughed nervously. "I guess I was." Lily sat down on a nearby bench. "I missed that old school." "I missed some people too." He didn't ask who she missed. His heart hoped it was him. She opened the book, flipping pages slowly. "I used to get letters," she whispered. "Someone used to leave them in my locker." Unsigned, Ethan's eyes widened slightly, but he said nothing. "I never knew who it was," she continued. "But they always came when I was sad." He looked down, words trapped in his chest again. "I still have them," Lily added. "I moved a lot, but I kept them." A pause. Then her voice softened. "Was it you?" The bookstore was quiet, only the sound of rain tapping the window. Ethan slowly nodded. "Yes," he whispered. "It was always me." She looked at him, eyes full of emotion. "Why didn't you ever say anything?" He shrugged. "I was afraid." "Afraid of me?" she asked gently. "No." He smiled sadly. "Afraid I wasn't enough." Lily reached out and touched his hand. "You were always enough, Ethan," she said softly. "You just didn't know it." And in that moment, something shifted. Years of silence were broken. The rain kept falling outside. But inside the bookstore, a new story was beginning, one with no more fear, no more hiding, just a quiet hope that maybe this time he wouldn't be too late. The next morning, Ethan woke up earlier than usual. He couldn't stop thinking about Lily's hand in his, her words still echoing in his mind. "You were always enough," she had said, and those words felt like warm sunlight breaking through years of cold silence. He reached for the wooden box on his desk. Inside were dozens of old letters he never gave her. He used to write one every week, fold it carefully, and place it in her locker. But after school ended, he kept writing, but never delivered them. He picked one. The ink slightly faded, but the feeling still strong. "You smiled today, and I forgot how to breathe." He closed the letter, his heart pounding again. He wanted to show her, but part of him still feared what she might think. Later that day, Lily returned to the bookstore, holding a coffee in each hand. "One's for you," she said, smiling. Ethan took it carefully. "Thank you." They sat together near the window. "Just like old times. I couldn't sleep last night," Lily said quietly. "I kept thinking about those letters." Ethan stayed silent, his fingers wrapped tightly around the cup. "I never knew anyone cared that much," she added. "And it was always you." He looked at her. "I wanted to tell you so many times. Then why didn't you?" she asked, not with anger but sadness. He hesitated, then whispered, "Because I thought I was invisible." "You were never invisible to me," she said gently. "You were just." Silent, he stood up slowly and went to the back of the store. When he returned, he placed the wooden box in front of her. "These are all for you," he said. "Letters I wrote, but never sent." Lily opened the box with trembling hands. She pulled out one, unfolded it, and began reading. Her eyes filled with tears, but she smiled through them. "You wrote these for me?" He nodded. "Every single one." Lily touched one of the pages. "Can I keep them?" "They were always yours," Ethan replied, his voice soft. She closed the box gently and looked at him. "You may not have said the words out loud, but your heart was always speaking." He looked down, shy again. But there was something new in his chest, not fear, hope. Outside, the sky had cleared. Sunlight poured through the window, and for the first time, Ethan felt like maybe. Just maybe. His silence had finally been heard. A few days later, Lily returned to the bookstore. This time, she was holding one of Ethan's letters in her hand. He looked up from behind the counter and froze when he saw it. "Do you remember this one?" she asked with a small smile. "It's dated 3 years ago." Ethan nodded slowly, his heart beating fast. Lily sat at their usual spot by the window, tapping the folded letter on the table.
"I read this one
5 times last night," she whispered. "I cried every single time." She unfolded the letter and looked at him. "May I?" she asked gently. Ethan nodded, unsure what was about to happen. She cleared her throat and read the letter out loud. "Some days I wish I were braver," she began, her voice soft and emotional. "Because every time I see you smile, I want to walk up and say, 'You make my world better just by existing.'" Ethan lowered his eyes, his face warm with embarrassment, but Lily continued, "You'll probably never know I love you. Because I'll never say it, but I do, with everything I have." She looked up, her voice shaking. "You wrote this when I didn't even know you noticed me." "I noticed everything," Ethan whispered. "Why did you hide so much of yourself?" she asked, placing the letter down. "I was afraid of the answer," he said. "I thought you'd laugh. or disappear. Lily reached across the table and took his hand. "You should have known," she said. "I was waiting for someone who saw me like that." Silence settled between them, but not the cold kind. This was the silence that comes when hearts finally understand each other. It's the kind where no words are needed, because both feel the same. Then Lily stood up and pulled something from her bag, a small notebook, old and worn. "I never showed this to anyone," she said, "but I think you should see it." She handed it to Ethan, and he opened the first page. There, written in neat, careful handwriting was, "Dear someone I haven't met yet." His eyes widened, flipping through the pages. It was a collection of her private thoughts about school, loneliness, and one boy who always sat quietly by the window. "You were writing about me?" he asked, stunned. She nodded. "Just like you were writing about me." They laughed, both a little shy, both a little surprised. But something was different now. No more secrets, no more silence. Just a beginning they both didn't expect, but had waited for. Wooden box of Ethan's letters beside her. Each letter she had read felt like a doorway into his heart, and now she couldn't stop thinking about all the little moments they had shared. Without even realizing it, his quiet presence, his soft glances, the way he always noticed what others ignored, all those pieces now felt like puzzle parts finally coming together. She sat up in bed and picked up one letter, the one that had the fewest words. It only said, "I saw you crying that day. I wanted to hold your hand, but I didn't think I deserved to." Her chest tightened. She remembered that day clearly. Her parents had fought. She'd come to school with swollen eyes. No one had asked her anything except Ethan. He didn't say much, just handed her a napkin and sat beside her silently. That was the day she had felt less alone, and she never knew why until now. The next morning, Lily stood outside Ethan's bookstore. She didn't wait, didn't knock. She just walked in and said, "I want to go somewhere with you." Ethan looked surprised, but nodded. "Anywhere?" he asked. "Yes," she smiled. "Somewhere quiet, where we can talk." They walked to the park down the street. The sun was soft behind the clouds, the air filled with the smell of leaves and warm soil. They sat near a small pond away from everyone. "I read all the letters," Lily said, looking at the water. "All of them." She nodded. "Even the one you tried to throw away." He blushed. "That one wasn't good." "It was honest," she said, "and beautiful." They were quiet for a moment. Then Lily turned to him. "Can I ask you something?" Ethan nodded, nervous again. "When did you know you loved me?" He took a deep breath. "I think I always did," he whispered, "but I realized it in 12th grade, during the winter dance. You never came. I was there." He smiled softly, "But I stayed outside." "Why?" "Because I didn't think you'd want someone like me." She looked down, her heart aching. "That was the year I felt most alone. I saw you dancing with someone else," Ethan added, "and I went home and cried." Lily looked at him with soft eyes. "You should have told me. I'm telling you now," he said gently. "Every letter was a piece of me hoping for a moment like this." She reached over and touched his hand again, and, "This is the moment," she whispered, "because I think I always knew too." He looked up, surprised. "I waited for someone who loved gently," she said. "Someone who saw me without asking for anything in return. And you were always there." The wind picked up slightly, carrying leaves across the water. Birds chirped softly in the trees. It felt like the world had paused, just for them. "I don't want to miss another moment," Lily said. "Not one more," Ethan smiled. "Then let's not." He squeezed her hand finally without fear, and in that simple touch, years of silence turned into something loud and beautiful. The next morning felt different. Ethan woke up before sunrise, but this time his heart wasn't heavy. There was a lightness in his chest, a quiet joy that whispered, "She knows." He walked into the small kitchen of his apartment and made 2 cups of tea. The kind Lily liked: honey, no sugar, with a bit of lemon. He had memorized her preferences long ago, even when she never knew, at exactly 8:30. There was a soft knock at the door. He opened it to find Lily standing there with messy hair, a cozy sweater, and the warmest smile. "I couldn't sleep either," she said, holding a paper bag. "I brought muffins." Ethan smiled, stepping aside. "Then it's the perfect breakfast." They sat at his tiny dining table, 2 chairs and a plant in the middle. They didn't say much while eating, but it wasn't awkward. It was peaceful, like 2 people who didn't need to speak every second to feel understood. "I want to know more," Lily finally said, wiping crumbs off her hands, "about you." "The real you," Ethan laughed softly. "That might take years. I'm not going anywhere." She replied, her eyes locked with his, so he told her. He told her about his love for old books, about how he always noticed stories and quiet people. He shared how he never liked crowds, how silence made him feel safe, and how, even when he didn't speak, he was always watching, especially her. "You were like a lighthouse," Ethan admitted. "I didn't need to talk. I just needed to see you to feel less lost." Lily's eyes watered, but she smiled. "I wish I had known. Maybe I was searching too, and didn't even realize." They spent the whole day together. Not doing anything big, just small, sweet things: walking to the park, reading a book on the bench, feeding birds, sharing ice cream. To anyone else, it looked like nothing, but to them was everything. Later, they stopped by a little art shop. Lily pointed to a blank sketchbook. "By that," she said. "Why?" "Because starting today, I want us to fill it with what? Memories, thoughts, ugly drawings, love letters." She said playfully, "Whatever makes us us." Ethan bought the sketchbook without a second thought. He had spent years hiding his feelings in paper and ink. Now, for the first time, he would share those feelings with the person who mattered most. As the sun began to set, painting the sky orange and gold, they sat by the lake. Shoes off, feet in the water, Lily rested her head on Ethan's shoulder. "This is what love should feel like," she whispered. "Safe, soft, and real." Ethan nodded. "And worth waiting for." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded letter. Not one she had read before. This one was new. He handed it to her without speaking. She opened it slowly, her eyes scanning the neat handwriting. "Dear Lily, you asked me why I never told you. And the truth is, I was afraid of losing something I never had. But now I know. Love isn't about fear. It's about having the courage to stay. So this is me, staying forever yours." Ethan, she folded the letter gently, pressing it to her chest, then leaned in and kissed his cheek, whispering, "I love you too." For years, Ethan had waited for a day like this, and now, sitting beside the girl he had loved in silence, he finally felt heard, seen, and truly loved in return. Lily sat on the park bench alone. The wind gently played with her hair, and golden leaves fell slowly around her. It had been a week since that perfect day with Ethan. 7 days of shared tea, laughter, and long walks. 7 days where love finally felt real between them. But today, Ethan wasn't by her side. She glanced down at her hands, where a sealed envelope rested. His handwriting, careful, thoughtful, marked the front, "For Lily." He had told her he needed to run an errand this morning, but instead, his friend had handed her the letter with a quiet smile. "Don't worry," he said, "just read it." With a deep breath, Lily opened it. Inside were 2 folded papers. The first, a short note. "Dear Lily, if I had the courage to say everything aloud, I would, but sometimes the written word is where my truth lives best. So please read the letter I wrote long before we spoke, and then read the one I wrote this morning. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the older letter. It was dated 2 years ago. Her heart already ached before reading a single word. Asterisk to the girl I've loved from afar. I don't expect you to read this, but I need to write it because every time I see you smile, it saves me a little, and every time I hear your voice, the world feels less heavy. I watch you laugh with others and wonder what it's like to be the reason for it. You walk past me like I'm air, and yet you're the reason I breathe. I don't speak because I'm scared, not of rejection, but of ruining something I treasure. In silence, you, Lily, are the most beautiful part of my quiet world. If I ever find the courage, maybe I'll tell you one day. Until then, I'll just keep loving you from here. Tears slid down Lily's cheeks. How long had he carried this inside? How had she never noticed? She opened the second letter, the one from today, her heart full and fragile. Dear Lily, now you know the boy who never spoke. Now you've heard the words I held for years. And yet, somehow, you stayed. You made space for my quiet love and gave it a voice. I no longer live in silence, because your heart listens even when your ears don't need to. This morning, I left because I wanted to make something special. Something simple, but honest. Go home, open the top drawer of your bookshelf, and you'll find the start of a new sketchbook. The first page is already filled. It's titled, Chapter 1. Come find me when you're ready for Chapter 2. And Lily. Don't take too long. I already miss you. Forever yours. Ethan. Lily pressed the letter to her chest, sobbing softly, not from sadness, but from love too big to hold. She ran from the park all the way to her apartment, tore open the drawer, and found the sketchbook. On the first page was a drawing, 2 silhouettes holding hands beneath stars, and under it, the words, Chapter 1. She clutched it like a treasure, grabbed her bag, and rushed to where she knew he'd be waiting, the lake bench, where they first read poems together, where silence turned into soft words, where love began to speak. And there he was, waiting, smiling, holding a pen, ready to write Chapter 2. He asked, holding out the sketchbook. Lily nodded, tears and laughter mixing in her voice. With you? Always.